Hey, brothers and sisters, thank you again for taking the time out of your busy days, no doubt, to come and tap in and tune into the CloudCity Converse. This time, I'm really jazzed up. It's been about 3 to 4 weeks since my last broadcast, and I was really anxious about trying to get this next one on the docket, but because of scheduling and travel, not for myself, but for my valued and honored guest, I do want to take this time to say thank you and introduce everyone who's logged in to my friend Rebel Kel. And boom, there we go. There's Kel. How you doing?
Hello. I am really happy to be on your podcast today. For those of you who don't know, Mark and I are friends. We've been friends now for years.
I know, right?
So when he asked me to do this podcast, I was super excited, and it's like chatting with a homie.
Oh, that's super dope, and I appreciate that. And like I said in the open, I've touted the podcast as unscripted, unfiltered, and unapologetic. I really don't have any direction that I want this conversation to go. We'll just kind of organically let it go where it goes. There's a few things I was thinking of earlier, and when I came up with the concept back around my birthday time, I just want to have conversations with people that I admire, conversations that intrigue me about stuff, ideally trying to learn more about our fellow man and woman makes us better people. So I'm just trying to be a better person by learning people's experiences and more about what they do and what drives them. And being a psychology nut and nerd, it's just one of those things that I kind of dig into. So for those...
And you do that background learning too.
Well, yeah.
You're learning it from all ends.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I think to be a better person, I have to understand personalities, and my goal is just to be a better person every day, right? Be it through fitness training or education or spirituality or whatever it is. If I can leave an indelible mark on the world that's positive, I think it's a win. And I think the only way to really do that is to know and understand people, and you respect people through relationships, right? And my pastor always says that change happens in the context of relationships, and learning about people and what makes people tick leads to those relationships. So again, thank you for taking the time to be on. I really wanted to open up with the first few guitar chords from Highway to Hell, but I know that if I did that, this entire thing would probably get shut down in like 3 seconds. Yeah, so I'm playing it in my mind.
Maybe I just need some custom music so we don't even have to worry about that.
I know, right, legit.
I do love AC/DC, so it's hard to part.
I know when the chords hit, it's like my energy level goes up. So we could definitely talk pro wrestling and all that fun stuff. But what I wanted to do first is I wanted to talk to you about the importance of fitness. I did a podcast with my trainer, of which, if now that I think about it, when the whole pandemic started, you were my primary trainer, you and Coach Greg, because you guys reached out to the masses and said, hey, we're in this pandemic thing, this quarantine. People can't train, people can't go out and do what they normally want to do. And you and Coach Greg, decided to facilitate a place where people can log on to Zoom and train and get the support that they needed. And I found that invaluable. Can you talk a little bit about that and what led to you guys opening that up for folks?
Yes. So fitness is always, or not really so much fitness, but sports has been more my thing my whole life. Mm-hmm. And the thing I love about sports is like, you can never know it all. You're always constantly learning, and you even if you're the best, you have to keep working to stay the best. And like, I guess my competitive drive has always it made me do well in sports. I'm very competitive. The thing I love about fitness is like everything you do improves like your mobility and your strength in your everyday life. If you're, hold on, I need to make sure I'm plugged in.
Yep, no worries. And while Kel is off taking care of business, again, I wanted to thank everybody who's tapped into the first few episodes of the CloudCity Converse. This should be episode number 7. So we do have a lot of other additional content coming forward. Like I said, I'm really interested in getting that 3-part series out about whole person wellness. We started with the fitness piece. I want to get into the emotional piece as well as the spirituality piece. And looks like my sister is back. So there we go. Cool. All good?
Yes.
All right.
All good. Sorry. I plugged in the wrong thing. I was about to die.
No worries.
So the thing about fitness is just like the ability to move, the ability to run, the ability to jump, and like having confidence in yourself. Like that just doesn't come naturally. You have to like practice jumping. You have to practice running. Like, and if you stop doing that stuff, like just your mobility in life isn't as great. And so that's what's always driven me to be drawn to fitness. Yeah. And just constantly getting stronger. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. And you know, I can't remember who it was that said it. I'm sure somebody way smarter than me, that a body in motion stays in motion, right?
Absolutely.
And
that's 100% the truth.
And I found that when I don't move as much as I'm accustomed to moving, that my body starts to definitely show the effects of that. I mean, driving back from training, of which I will be doing tonight, and we'll talk a little bit about that crazy new endeavor that I got myself into. But driving back from training, the hour back from Hillsboro, my body just completely locks up. And every time I try to crawl myself out of the car, I start to think there was a point in time when moving daily wasn't as important to me. And ideally, to be able to talk with you about this and to evangelize to people the importance of continuing, even if it's baby steps. My trainer Dre always says, if we can get 1% better every day, imagine where you're going to be a year from now, right?
Exactly. That's
and ideally to
our motto too.
Oh, for sure. And to facilitate, and there's so many creative ways I think that during the pandemic we found to make it work versus finding reasons not to do the work, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my
neighbor next door is 83 years old, and that man, every single day he's out there working on not only his yard, he comes over and works on our yard, like. And the reason he's like able to do that is because he never stopped, you know? And I think about that. My grandma's the same way. She's in her late 70s, and like she's out there gardening, taking walks every day. Like she's way more mobile than people 20 years less than her.
Yeah.
And I think it's just important to keep that in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And once you stop, I think everything else kind of slows and stops. And we've all had to put stuff kind of on a pause. But again, then I'll reach out to Greg separately just to thank you guys for facilitating an opportunity for people to continue on their fitness journey. What really led to you guys deciding to reach out? Because a lot of fitness professionals just kind of hunkered down and locked it up and didn't really have the forethought to reach out to people and give them an opportunity to continue on their journeys.
Yeah. Well, Greg's a multi-gym owner, and when the pandemic shut it down, we were really trying to figure out where we go from here and how we adapt and like overcome. And so that's what kind of drove it. He's doing amazing. He's taking off with his coaching, and he's got tons of clients with it. It's actually, Mark was part of our like beta run thing. So he was like the first ever like group of students we ever had. And, you know, since then, he's really doing well with that. It's something that, although I love fitness, I'm not ready to put together my program yet.
Sure.
I feel like there's some stuff with my wrestling that I really want to focus on, and that's where I want to succeed right now. And although I do eventually want to maybe get into the fitness coaching space, I think that I've got a few things I need to work on first.
Okay, that's cool. That's an awesome. No, I love that too, and that's an awesome transition, because to see you and Greg continuing to work as a unit, but also going down your individual highway, right, to your own goals, I think is awesome. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know that you've talked ad nauseum about, I started wrestling here and all this other stuff, and we've had good conversations. I think, goodness, the first time that we met at the DEFY Onslaught show, we started off with conversations about what got you into it. And I don't want to necessarily say rehash old conversations, but I'm really intrigued about your journey to Japan. When I first saw you perform, it was at a DOA show, and you came out and you had a match against MJ, and I was there with my daughter Cameron, and I was just enamored. I'm like, oh my goodness, this Amazon, like, and that's all I could think of, right? And I was able to snap a couple pics. I think I showed them to you and stuff, and it was just really cool because I had no clue who Rebel Kell was, and thankfully now I know and have plenty of clues. But I remember at the end of that match, you had mentioned that you were heading off to Stardom, and then when you came back that you were gonna do what you've done, which is take the world by storm. Let's talk about that one, if you can, a bit. I mean, from the decision to go, how it all laid out, and then I really want to get into whatever you want to cover about the journey that you were there.
You know, I was kind of like feeling not like kind of stuck. I was feeling kind of stuck, and I felt like I needed to find a place like to train and to learn and to grow. And that was like when I was in the midst of traveling to all these different schools and trying out these different schools. And I always knew about STARDOM. I definitely didn't think I had the chops to go there, but one night I was just like, you know what, I won't know if I don't try.
Sure.
And I got online and I just applied and sent in my application. And I didn't hear anything back for maybe 2.5 months.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I got a call randomly, and it was cheerleader Melissa, and she's like, hey, we got your application. Sorry it's taken us so long to get back to you, but we'd love to have you join STARDOM. And I was like in total disbelief. I mean, even
Sure.
up to the day, I mean, I was in disbelief even when I was on the plane to Japan. I didn't really realize, like, it didn't sink into me until I got off in the in the airport there.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh,
Like I'm actually in Japan. That's so awesome.
Yeah, totally. So one, I learned, like, you never know unless you try.
There you
for
go.
sure, because I definitely didn't think that I would ever be chosen to go there. But it was, I didn't even think I was going to get in. I haven't told this story, I don't think, but I have my criminal record isn't totally clean.
Okay, pause 2 seconds. So again, unscripted, unfiltered, and unapologetic. My thing is this: if someone sees or hears something during our converse that they're not cool with, just log off, swipe right. And again, I do want to talk a little bit, if it comes to it, about like bullying, not necessarily the other situation that we talked about, but about how people can be so judgy, right? My whole goal with this whole thing is to expose people to different things they might not be familiar with. Your journey is your journey. It's awesome. I'm glad to be somewhat on it with you in certain regards. If there's something that people hear that they didn't expect, dude, Rebel Kell's a human being. Mark Cornell's a human being, right? We all make mistakes. We all grow. We all try to get better. And you are free to delve into whatever you want to go into, or to pass on whatever you want to go into. We could punt and just move on to other stuff. So it's really on you.
I will totally let you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, like, the fear of being judged and the fear of, like, I don't know, people disliking me or something is something that's held me back for a long time, about, like, being my authentic self and, like, showing who I am. And, like, I feel like I am growing out of that.
Nice.
I just turned 30 years old. Like, I don't want to hide my story anymore. I've learned from my mistakes. Like, I have something on my criminal record. And I was thinking this was stopping me from getting in Japan. I got a call from cheerleader Melissa saying, like, hey, we just found this out. Like, is there anything else on your record? And I said, no, I promise. Like, I don't even have, like, a parking ticket, nothing.
Right.
Like, just that one thing, right?
Right.
Basically, the thing on my record is I got into a fight. So
let me tell you,
I got into a fight.
if I got charged every time I got in a fight with somebody, this whole interview would be completely different. So,
well,
yeah.
This was years ago too. Like, I had just turned 21. Like, you know, I got into a fight. I went to jail. I did anger management. I did the whole thing. I have paid my dues for this over and over again. But of course, this thing follows me, right? So she's like, you know, Japan's really strict about anything like that on your record before going in. So she's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to get in.
At least she was open and honest with you about it. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I get off the plane in Japan, and I'm going to, like, check out, I guess. What is it called? Immigration?
Oh, customs.
Customs, exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm in customs, and the guy at the desk reaches his hand under the desk. And I'm like, did he just push a button or something, right? Like, next thing I know, there was 3 cops behind me, and they're like, this way.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I'm not getting into Japan. Like, I have all this excitement. I got all ready for STARDOM. I got a whole, like, I got 3 months worth of stuff packed with me. I'm not even getting in. Like, And luckily they sat me in a room. I mean, no one even asked me any questions. They just sat me in a room, and about 10 minutes later, they were like, okay, you're free to go. So
Probably the longest 10 minutes after,
I
no
seriously
doubt,
thought they were going to say 17 hours back.
back. That's
Like,
what I was
you're
going to
gone.
ask you, is how long was that flight getting out there? Because
I
when
think it was 17 hours.
straight,
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
oy
Well,
vey.
I can't remember.
My legs are swelling just thinking about sitting that long. Because when we went to Africa, I was just talking to my buddy that we went with. I was visiting him over the weekend. It was, I want to say 11 hours from Portland straight to Amsterdam. And we were in Amsterdam, I think, for 7 hours, and then 5 hours from Amsterdam to Ghana. And when I was thinking about you and your journey and the flight, and I'm like, how long is that flight to Japan? It's like,
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like 9. I can't remember.
Still,
to be
though.
honest. It was a couple of years ago. But
Yeah.
It was a long flight. I didn't think I was even getting in. At that point, I had battled so hard to get to Japan because my paperwork had come out wrong. My first and last name were switched. I was supposed to be in Japan 3 weeks earlier.
Okay.
But my paperwork got backed up because the first and last names were switched on it.
Of which I've heard that happens a lot.
They had to reissue paperwork.
Yeah.
So when they actually brought me in, like, they took me straight from Tokyo to Osaka, 8 hours up, and like, we're like, you got matches, go. And I hadn't even trained one day yet. I was so like, I still was like scared if I even could live up to their expectations.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So you literally hit the ground running without a doubt, right?
Yeah.
So language barriers. Did you have an interpreter, or was it just speak wrestling? And I mean, that's the part that really intrigues me about it, right?
Okay. So the car ride up, I rode with Rossi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the owner of STARDOM. And that was the first point that I got scared, because we were having conversation and I could understand some of it, but I definitely had to ask him what, like 3 or 4 times in order to understand what was happening. And that was the first time I started getting really scared. And then I got to my first match. My first match was a tag team. Me, who only speaks English.
Right.
My tag team partner only spoke Spanish. She's from Mexico. She only speaks Spanish, no English.
Okay.
Against 2 Japanese girls that speak no English or Spanish. So I definitely had a moment, like, and everyone calls something different, right? Like a move in America is called something different in Mexico, and it's called something different in Japan. We all are talking about the same thing, but we don't even know what we're talking about because it's all something different.
Wow. And there's definitely, and again, we talked before about my potential journey, and well, it's not even potential, it's happening right now, of trying to understand the science of it all and how matches are called in the ring and the communication, and just to add that additional stress. Because I thought, I don't know, I mean, I thought about, okay, you made it out there, you had a chance to settle in. I'm like, in my mind, I'm romanticizing, like, okay, well, I'm sure she has like a chaperone, somebody who's helping her get from A to B, interpret this and that. No, it was Rossi, get in the car, let's go, it's time to work.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there was one guy who does the American social media, so he speaks English, but I hadn't met him before my first match. Like, I definitely, and over time, I learned the language, right? Like, I pick up what things mean, and like, I can kind of put together stuff a lot easier. But when I first got there, it was definitely a very, like, humbling situation for sure.
Interesting. What would
I also want to say, just real quick, regarding me saying I got in trouble. Like, my name is Rebel Kel. And like, you know, I didn't get the name Rebel because I've been an angel my whole life.
Right.
Okay, so if anyone had that belief prior to this podcast, like, yeah, just let that belief just go right out the door, because, you know, I'm not perfect, so. Well,
listen, Kel, I look at it like this. Number one, none of us are, right? And people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, right? And
absolutely.
Let's see, 21, Ellensburg, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay, I already know. We've had that conversation about my son before. So for those who are unaware, Ellensburg, small college town, you can get in trouble for hiccuping the wrong way. So I had to make a few trips out there to try to advocate for a special someone while
they were throwing the book at people.
Oh man, they don't play. And I've worked the area in my previous job too, so I know that if you are going 26 into 25, that's that ass. So yeah, so I dig
Ruthless.
that.
They're absolutely ruthless.
Yeah, they don't play. They do everything they can to continue to funnel money into the pipeline, be it by tickets or bail, right? So it is all good, all good. So you have your first match. It's a tag team match. I'm sure the anxiety was high, especially coming off of, am I even going to get into the country? What was the most difficult thing of the first, because you were out there for how long?
3 months.
3 months.
Almost.
Okay.
Two and a half. Two and a half.
So it was matches, it was training, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just thinking about like, what do I do in the average 3 months? So there's work, there's leisure, there's food, and there's exercise, right? So
yes.
I do remember you were posting a lot of pictures. I remember you seeing one of the pictures was dope of you standing by your hotel room door, and with you being 6 feet tall,
yes.
and the door being like, what was it, 6'1" or something like that. It was just such
Absolutely.
an awesome imagery. What was the most difficult thing to get accustomed to in those first couple of weeks?
The most difficult thing by far was living in a house with 5 women.
Oh, wow.
It was very difficult. I didn't know anyone, obviously, going in. And yeah, it
was tough.
It took a while to navigate all this.
Okay.
There was a lot of girls in the house I definitely looked up to. Like, I was definitely aspired to be like a wrestler like them. I think it took some warming up to me.
Yeah.
I think it took some warming up to me.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, were they all Japanese wrestlers, or were they from all other parts of the world as well?
No, all over the place. All over the place. Mostly from Europe. They're Bea Priestley, Zaya Brookside, Piper Niven, me, Goya Kong, and eventually Toni Storm. We all lived in the house together.
It's a bunch of alphas, I can only imagine.
Definitely a bunch of alpha girls. You know what I'm saying? But
no, that's cool.
It was fun. I learned a lot from them.
Yeah. Do you keep in touch with any of them now?
Goya Kong for sure. She was my roommate and very close friend to me. And Piper Niven, I really connected with her as well.
Nice.
I'm still friends with Toni Storm, and I mean, I don't really talk to her, but
Yeah. No ill will and none of that stuff, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm very excited about all the girls' success. Like, they're all amazing wrestlers. They all deserve to do amazing things. Like, I still look up to them. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's one of the cooler things that I've started to learn and understand and appreciate about pro wrestling. And I'm very. Sorry, you cut out.
Yeah, it froze up a little bit. I'm always hesitant to like talk like a wrestling mark, like in the business and the boys and the girls, because I have no clue, right, as an outsider, just as a fan. But it just seems really cool, like an awesome experience, right, to get there and to work with different people, different styles. What about the training? What was the training like?
Oh my gosh, the training was amazing. Like, I loved Japanese training. I've actually been talking to STARDOM because I'm trying to go back. And they seem interested too. They want to bring me back. So hopefully that will be in the works. But the training was amazing. Those girls, they train from like the time that they're like 10 years old.
Right.
So by the time they're like 16, they can run circles like around pretty much anybody. You know what I mean? And every wrestling training, we warm up with like rolls and stuff, and we try all these different variants of rolls. They do all those rolls, and then they walk in a handstand across the ring, and I'm just like,
oh, I'm gonna add that one to the notebook of one day.
And like, they just like do everything and then like turn it up a notch, and like, I loved it because, like I said, I love being challenged. As a competitive athlete, I love being challenged. So I'm like, do I know how to do a handstand and walk across the ring? No, but I'm certainly going to try. And like, when I get like 3 steps, I'm like, yeah,
there we go.
That? Like, we get up and we do it again. So
nice.
I don't know, just like super phenomenal training. Pushes you to the max for sure.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to go anywhere else as far as outside of the States to train? Like down to Mexico or Anywhere else? Up in
No.
Canada, maybe? Not yet?
No. Shows in Canada, but never really any training in Canada.
Okay.
Although I would love to figure out a next move somewhere. Increase the repertoire.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the one thing. I did a match in front of Booker T. It was the one time that he saw me, wrestle like one-on-one, and his eyes were on me, and like his voice is so deep and so like commanding of like your attention.
Absolutely.
Like it rings into my head at this day, and he said, "Kelly, you need to increase your playbook." And I was just like, and it's still to this day, I'm like, I need to increase the playbook. Like, that's, I don't know, just.
You think
I don't even know how I got started on this.
No,
I can't
it's all
remember what the
good.
question was, but I was like, that just kind of came to me.
Yeah, no, training elsewhere. And I think that's cool though, right? Because that's, again, the nature of the entire conversation is to just kind of let it go organically where it goes. And just like conversations do, right? I mean, people popcorn topics here and there, left and right all the time. About Booker T. So Cameron and I went to StarCast #2 in Vegas. For the AEW premiere of not All In, it was Double or Nothing. So we were hanging out there at StarCast, and I booked all these interactions and stuff for myself and for her. And of the highlight, being able to have a conversation with Booker T while there was a line of probably 40 people behind him, and he showed me so much about entertainment character and professional character. There might as well have been an empty arena, and it was just he and I having a conversation. And I got some really awesome pictures of him just talking to me. And outside of the conversation I had with him, with Mark Henry, with Kip Saban, and conversations with you candidly, as well as Matt Farmer, is what kind of led me to decide to actually pull the trigger and start training myself just to see what happens.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it was a text from you that said, "That's awesome. I can't wait to kick you in the face."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, cool." I said, "I'm doing it." That's the goal, right? I know I've arrived when I get a.
You better put your hand up.
I'll take it like a champ. Take that busted lip. Yeah, but Booker really did offer a lot of time. Mark Henry talked to me not about wrestling, but talked to me about fitness and weight training. And I was telling him, I could back squat this and do that. He was like, "What do you do for your job now?" And I told him, he was like, "Okay, how often are you going to utilize all that strength in that job to make money?" I says, "Well, not very." He says, "So I want you to think about overhead squats with just the bar. Work on your mobility, exactly like you said. Work on your flexibility, exactly like you said. So something that's sustainable when this small, finite time is done, you can take that going forward." So
that's great advice. I absolutely agree with that. Put a stamp on it. I like it.
There you go. Mark Henry gets the Rebel Kel stamp. That's what's up.
That's right.
That's what's up. So things are opening back up again. You had mentioned working in Canada. Have you had the opportunity to work in Mexico yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I think that would be so dope.
I think this is like one of those things where it's like the last year it was like obviously closed down for everybody.
Sure.
And this year I'm like, this whole last year I've been like just thinking in my head like how this is gonna play out. And I really feel like this year for me is all about taking the same chances that led me to stardom.
There we
go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just, I'm not the kind of person that really reaches out to these people to see if there's opportunity. And it's like, that time is over. Like you said, this is a very finite amount of time we get in this space here. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this year needs to be the year that I am hitting up. And I mean, the next 6 weekends I'm booked. So I'm like super stoked right now. Things are definitely going well for me.
As it should be, right? As it should be, and you deserve it. And I think anybody who's actively chasing their dreams really does deserve nothing but the best. I mean, we've all had our journeys, like we talked about a little bit. We've all been through some stuff here and there. We've all overcome things from the external as well as from the internal. And we've talked about this before as well. We are our biggest critics when we need to start being our biggest cheerleaders. And I appreciate that and I applaud that about you too.
Well, no, you hype me up, man. Like everyone who doesn't know, like I can get pretty hard on myself. I'm so critical of myself, and Mark is always there for me to hype me up, bring me back up, pick me up if I need to. And I super appreciate that about our friendship. So
Well, I appreciate you saying that too. I've try to be as modest as possible, but also understanding there's nothing wrong with letting somebody, give you flowers here and there, right? And it's not that we do it for that. We just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I just want people to be happy, right? If I learned anything from this crazy time of 2020 and 2021 so far, I mean, Biz Markie just died a couple days ago at the age of 57, and I'm like, I'm 47 now. I'm like, my ideal goal, because I have longevity in my family, thankfully, is to die like my grandmother did, which is in the bed, at home, surrounded by grandkids at a ripe old age of like 99 plus, if I could get there. So I'm like, what can I do now to try to help in that end goal versus to try to hinder that? So anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I am feeling the same way about that.
Yeah, just, happiness, man. I mean, the world is so shitty and can be so shitty, but there's so much beauty in it that I think we really need to focus on the similarities and focus on trying to bring each other up and focus on trying to encourage each other. And I think everybody's made better by that. But anyway,
I think you definitely embody that for sure.
You're sweet. Thank you. So let's see. We got all deep and mushy.
We did.
That's so dope. That's so dope. I know, right? So things are opening up again. Things are running again. It's super dope. It's awesome. What are your? I'm gonna get like super podcast interviewee. Try to not sound like a douche. What are your short-term goals in the business and long-term goals in the business?
Short-term goals in the business. New gear. New song.
Okay.
New merchandise. And also like increasing. I've been selling hella merch at the shows lately, and it's been awesome. Like, it's been, thank you for the support to everybody. If you guys are watching, thank you. You
can't see it from where you are now recording, right? But you'll see it when I play it back. I'm going to go from the solo kel cam to the joint cam. So let's talk about merch. No, I'm just kidding. I get jazzed up every time I hear you talk about merch, and you're sending me pictures of you in your favorite t-shirt. It's so cool. It's so awesome. But
yes, I love it.
I wanted the everybody to see me cheesing when you started talking about merch. And I think let's talk about that real quick now that we're on it. So, as a pro wrestler, you get a fee to perform, right? And I don't know that fans understand. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm just babbling. But I don't know that maybe the average listener understands the importance of the support that the fans bring to the wrestlers, right? Going to a show and sitting on your hands. Okay, I get it. If you're not into the character, if you're not into the story or whatever people try to say, that's one thing. And I know culturally in Japan, it's a little bit more subdued of a interaction with the crowd, right?
It's maybe a subdued interaction with the crowd, but those people buy merch like nobody's business. They're paying to take a picture with you.
Yeah, that's legit.
And there's lines like 20 people long. They're like all trying to buy merch.
Yeah, Japan
kind of gets that.
And they get it. That's the point I'm trying to make. They get it. When I started going to DEFY shows and even the DOA shows, and any show I could get myself to, Prestige and all the local stuff. Shout out to all of them, specifically DEFY, the homies. Standing in line to support, take a moment, tell the talent thank you for what they do. I didn't understand the importance of expressing appreciation for the wrestlers until I read the story and saw the video of Rey Mysterio and Perro Aguayo and how quickly that man's life changed. And I was really just obsessing over the fact that the art form that you guys, that I almost can say but that you guys partake in, you literally have one another's lives in your hands every move, every single thing that you do. So it's not like you just show up, you jump in the ring, you do your thing, you leave, you tell a story, you're out.
Jump on a trampoline, get hit by a rubber chair, and call it a day.
Wrong. Wrong, because that is not a trampoline. I've fallen on trampolines, and trampolines do not hurt like that. So, but the importance of supporting and interacting with the fans, and the fans supporting and interacting back. buying t-shirts, buying pictures, getting autographs, and paying for that stuff, I think it really needs to be accented. So if you could do a commercial, I mean, not to be a shill, because people are going to support anyway, right? But I think that people really need to know how important that is to you guys, that support.
Yeah, that's a great point. For sure. I feel like as a wrestler, if no one talks to you about anything, it leaves a I don't know, just feels good to have someone even acknowledge that you're there, that you did something, right? Like, it actually probably means more to me that a fan comes to talk to me. It probably means more to me than it does to them.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, it's definitely like not a burden by any means. And I feel like sometimes people are scared to like come talk. Maybe they want to, but they're kind of scared. And I'm like, please, like, come over here, come talk to me. Like, the support is everything. Without support, you have nothing.
Amen.
You have nothing. If no one cares about you, you have nothing. And honestly, that stuff keeps me going. Like, we met when you bought my merch, really. Yeah,
for sure.
And you've continued to be a huge support for me. It means everything. It keeps you going. Wrestling, I would say, is harder mentally than it is physically. And
interesting.
And everyone needs support. Everyone needs support.
Yeah, and I think that understanding that, you make money for participating in a show, but you also have to generally, I would think, pay for travel. You got to pay gas to get there, right? You got to eat. You got to do other stuff.
If I wanted to eat that day, I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, I think we've all heard stories about, guys and gals going up and down the road, and 3 or 4 individuals in a car, 3 or 4 individuals in a room, making enough just to grab something to eat fast food wise. And it's not like this hugely glamorous lifestyle, right? I mean, it has the potential to be, but it's, I guess, the old paying your dues adage. But if it could be any encouragement to those that are listening, when you go to a pro wrestling show, it's not like the Juggernaut, right? Where, they're selling out basketball arenas where the Blazers play or where the Sonics used to play. These are smaller venues. These are shows that are put on by dedicated individuals, by fans that are passionate. The DEFY fan, is completely passionate, as well as Prestige and DOA fans as well. Just support, buy a t-shirt. I mean, Lord knows, I think I have 50 plus wrestling shirts up in my closet. When I was training last week, one of my friends reached out and said, "Hey, how many Rebel shirts do you have?" And I was like, "Yes." The answer is just yes. I have them all, and I have probably 2 of them. And this one I designed. So
yeah, right.
But yeah,
I was gonna mention that you even designed your own for me.
Oh, hey, because it was
that
dope.
is one of my faves.
Oh, you're awesome. So yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's the Rebel Kel huge in Japan.
Yeah, and I kind of got that concept. I saw another wrestler who was kind of on the naughty list that people don't want to talk about too much, saying that he was huge somewhere else, and I was like, I think I could flip that to an awesome shirt for Kel. And we actually designed it when we were out in Africa too, which is cool. Just sitting on the iPad playing with concepts and stuff. So
nice.
It was dope.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's cool.
So as far as shows going forward, you talked about short-term goals. Man, we like legit went all over.
I got one more short-term goal.
Please.
One more short-term
goal. Go ahead.
I want, like, these next 6 weeks, like, I want to perform well. I want to have good matches. I want to step up my game as far as, like, it was hard for me to watch my own matches, but I think it's necessary in order to see what I look like, obviously, from an outside perspective. Because whatever I think happened and what is actually seen could be 2 different things,
sure.
right? I want to have good matches these next 6 weeks. So that's definitely kind of where my head's at right now, and preparing my diets and my habits in a way that, like, I can perform my best for the next 6 weeks. So that's kind of my short-term goal right now.
Okay, so for the next 6 weeks, let's talk about that, right? So we know that there's championship wrestling from Memphis. We got to see you perform there online. Like I said before, when I sent you that text, that was BS, but that's okay. understand.
Wait, let me talk about that real
Please,
quick.
please do.
So the producer of that show hit me up and they were like, Kel, our ratings are absolutely skyrocketing since you came on the show. And I was like, well, how do you know? And he goes, specifically in your segments, like there's viewage like we've never seen before. Like,
excellent.
Congratulations.
Shoot.
And so they're bringing me back next month. I'm super excited, but apparently that went for me and I'm just excited to go back.
Yeah, it's jazz. I'm jazzed for you. I think it's really cool to see you be able to travel all these different places. So you have championship wrestling from Memphis. What else is in the cooker for you right now?
No,
that you can talk about. If you can't talk about it, that's cool.
Let's get that first.
Yep.
I'm going to California next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about this. And what else do I have going on? Let me think. Spanaway.
Right. I did see that. There's Spanaway.
That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like a rock show in wrestling, and I love rock. Absolutely love rock.
Yeah. There's Everett.
Wrestling.
Right, you got an Everett show coming.
Is without a cost.
Yep.
You can definitely count on me being there.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I mention?
Either way, it's going to be a nice, active next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then going back to Memphis.
Sure.
That's really cool. It seemed like at least on TV, it seemed like they received you really well in Memphis.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, I think my old original gear is kind of a great look for Memphis fan base in general. And one thing I liked about Memphis is I got the chance to work babyface.
I was going to say,
I like being babyface. Like, I just think, I don't know, I like being babyface more. And most of the time I'm booked as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like, even when I'm booked as a heel, like, I don't know. People still kind of root for me a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
so it's like, I like being baby where it's just.
Yeah. Somebody had asked me, one of my buddies asked me earlier, oh, do you have a name? Do you have a this? I'm like, dude, I'm so early on in the process. I have a concussion. That's what I have.
Yeah.
I got a bum hip is what I have. But he said, do you want to be a good guy or bad guy? I said, I would obviously want to work heel because I think it would be cooler and easier to get people to dislike you than it is to get people to endear to you, right? But
I think it is easier.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. When I saw you work the first time with MJ, that was heel, and then when you left and came back, I was able to catch a couple matches online, which was kind of hard to see the differential, really not knowing, not being too hip to the stories there. But then when you came back,
I think in Japan I was a baby, but I was a big giant.
Right, which made you heelish to an extent, right?
Yes, which made me heelish to an extent, and I think that's why I default to heel, or people default me to heel most often, is they don't want to see the big 6-foot person beat up the 5-0.
Right. And it's funny too because it was one of your Japan pictures that I took and I utilized for the graphic, and I was like, how can I make this differential of Kel and this young lady seem even bigger? So I was like, oh, I could just stretch Kel and make her taller.
Absolutely.
And I think the actual picture that I utilized is when you were doing the test of strength, and you had your hand up, and then the other talent, her hand went up to your elbow, and I was like, that's the cutest thing ever.
Yes, for sure.
That was dope. And then when I got to see you, my official full-on, never ashamed mark-out moment when you came out against Rhea Von Slasher at DEFY Onslaught in that show. And the coolest part about that, and I shared the story, I don't think I talked about it with Farmer when we had our podcast, but you and I talked about it. The coolest thing ever was to hear the music hit. I jump out of my seat. It was, I think, the first time I actually sat front row, and I was sitting there with Cameron, my tag team partner as always, and you're working your way around the ring, and you got on these aviator stunner shades, and I'm just sitting there just recording, minding my own business, happy as I could be, and you just walk right up to me, and you pulled the glasses off, and you gave me this smirk, and it put the glasses on my face, and I just like completely just died in that moment. And I was like, okay, I'm sold, I'm done. And then to watch you perform and stuff, and who was it? I think it was Guillermo told me that you can hear me say, "Let's go, Kel," over everybody that's yelling and screaming, even in the back. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
I can hear you in the match. You're like, don't let up, Kel. Keep the pressure on her, Kel. Like, you got this. Like, I'm like, Okay, yeah,
Oh,
keep the pressure on.
oh, you're so sweet. That's super dope. That's super dope. But I like watching you work, Face. Ethan's Project 23, Project 42, right?
Project 42.
Project 42 show. Cameron and I were there and got to see you work, baby, and in front of your family, which was super dope. I mean,
Yes.
wasn't the first Project 42 your first match, if I'm not mistaken?
That was my first match.
Oh,
And then
somebody did their research. Look at that.
Yeah. That was my first match, to this day, one of my favorite matches. Tons of people came. Then that match that you're talking about, I was in the main event for the first time. I'd never been part of the main event before.
Right.
And I won it.
Dude,
like against 3 boys.
so
that
me,
was a huge moment for me. I definitely loved that.
Let me tell you about that match, Kel, and to watch you guys, you and Sonico literally beating the bloody hell out of each other. And then for Tom Allman to come in and just like, we escaped so much into the match. I felt like it was you and me and Cameron against everybody because we were like, no, behind you, you got to turn and look behind you. And I even got on video. You were looking at Cameron. You said, what? You played it so well. You like, what? And turned around. Oh, it was such a dope thing. Such a dope thing. And it was a really cool. And then you guys got out of the ring and you were fighting all over the place. And didn't you do like...
I jumped off the balcony.
You jumped off the balcony onto everybody. And I think right before that, Sonico slammed your head into the wall. And I was like, what is going on? My two... I got to tell you, I'm going to mark out moment again since I got the time. And it's my mic and my show. My two favorite matches to see you perform in was that match there, because it seemed like you were freer to be you and express, and you were given a lot of time to tell the story. And the story was awesome because, again, I mean, number one, you won it, right? And the fans were there. The energy was great. It was such a dope venue, Corazon, to have a wrestling match at. And the other one was DEFY Riot with Sloan.
Really?
So the reason why the DEFY Riot show, number one,
I actually heard a lot of great things about that one, but continue.
So that one, if I'm not mistaken, was the day after Onslaught.
Yes.
Okay,
I got it right. Day.
It was Father's Day. Okay, so Cameron and I, after Onslaught, it was like we all went like with Brian Cage and Sonico and all these other guys down the street, and like we're having beers and drinking Tawaka shots and having a good old time. It was really dope. Yeah. And then the Onslaught show was the next day, so we drove up to Tacoma for that. Different venue, definitely different, tight, and it was cool. But you and Sloan had this knockdown, drag out, all over the bar fight, like beer being thrown in each other's faces, and in a beatdown where Randy Myers was just standing there watching, like clutching his pearls, like I can't believe what's happening right here. It was just, to me, the coolest expression of you in your element outside of the ring, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Because I loved that match too. I definitely think both Sloan and I brought it that match.
Absolutely.
I mean, we left the stage still fighting it out. And I mean, one of my favorite pictures is me like on top of her with like my fist cocked like that. And I'm just like, you can tell the refs, they're like trying to pull us off. They don't know what to do. And I'm just like, that picture captures what that match was. Yeah, legit. It really does. And it was an amazing showcase of both of you guys' talent, and a whole bunch of shit talking in the crowd to people and throwing beer at each other. It was pretty dope. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I liked it. We are at 48 minutes, and I knew that this was going to go long. I told you in the beginning that it was going to go long, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to catch up. We could do this for hours, but I don't want to, some of that stuff we'll just do as one-offs. I think you and I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. And I got some new information for sure. Information I've never talked about. There we go. So. And I'm glad you did that. Hopefully you felt comfortable doing so. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Rebel Kel, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day because I got to go get myself ready to take some bumps and get ready for that kick to the face. Get after it, my man. And a chop. So I try to end all of my podcasts. Before I do so, take a moment, pub your stuff. Let the people know how they can follow you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Follow me on Instagram at Rebel Kel Wrestles. On Twitter. Oh God, I think it's the Rebel Kel on Twitter. Gotta figure that out for sure. Right. And prowrestlingtees.com/Rebel Kel. Yeah. That's where you can find me. Find her, and we'll get some maybe get some new designs up there. We have been talking about some concept stuff for like a year and a half. 3 great new designs coming out for t-shirts. But I also kind of want like like a Sports Illustrated poster.
That would be dope.
You know what I'm saying?
That would be dope.
Like a poster.
Say less.
You know, things are turning. Things are turning.
Yeah, say less. I think we can figure out a way to make that work. So, as always, again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure, and I really appreciate it. Give my regards to, goodness, at this point, to Greg, to Courtney, to Tad, to everybody else. And
you know everybody.
I know it's crazy, right? Again, like you said, you step out on faith, you never know what might happen, right? I mean, I could have very easily said, oh my goodness, she's an awesome wrestler, and be too scared to say something. And, you know, you step out on faith and you make a friend, and I know my life is better for it. So, and to end it as corny as I can, in the words of Lando Calrissian to Princess Leia in Empire Strikes Back, Rebel Kel, you truly belong here with us amongst the stars. So thank you for joining the Cloud City Converse, and I will talk to you soon and hopefully see you sooner.
Thank you.